Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. So, as a parent,
Mm-hmm.
when your daughter was young, I don't know if you guys had babysitters that often.
I don't think we've ever had a babysitter.
Okay, so we have a different circumstance where we have, the oldest goes to a nanny share across the street. It's just with one other kid, but it's like right across the
Right.
street. And the
Well,
youngest,
she went to
especially,
like a early learning center during the day twice a week, but I don't know if that counts as we never like went out at night and had a babysitter sort of thing. But anyways,
really?
carry on. No, never once.
That's a shame.
I know, right? Like we sucked in terms of like, I mean, we didn't do a lot. I mean, we used to do like poker leagues and stuff before we had our daughter, but like once we had our daughter, we didn't unless like I mean, like we went to Paris that one time and a family friend watched her when we went to for Minecon Paris. And she went to Orlando Minecon that one time and the same family friend watched her. And that was the end of that because her family the family friend that watched her had a son that was a police officer and he took it upon himself to belittle us on tons of social media and talk about what terrible parents we were because I think that when was that my kind it might have been during Halloween, I think it was, and so we weren't there for Halloween, and so my daughter went trick-or-treating. She was only 2 at the time, and she went trick-or-treating with their family, and he talked about just what shitty parents we were, and while we're off partying in Orlando, our daughter is here alone and all this other shit, and sent this long letter to Crystal and all this, and it was just, and after that, like she refused to ever leave her anywhere because she felt like she's such a bad parent for doing that one time to Orlando.
That is weird.
Oh yeah, he's a total piece of shit. I went down to the police department and I was like, well, since you decided to come to my place of work and talk to me about parenting, I decided to come to your place to work and just belittle you too. So it didn't go very well. But anyways,
But I couldn't figure this.
I've interrupted your story though, so you
So
go back to what you.
So I was going to say, like, and then the youngest gets watched during the day by somebody who comes over to the house, not an official nanny, but a relatively regular babysitter. Now it's different now because my wife is working in a job that she has to go to as opposed to one where she's working from home. So before it would be like a couple hours here and there. She would have somebody would come over and watch the littlest one, but it wasn't 100% of the time during like the workday that it was it was covered by a sitter. Now it's like this sitter full time. So then a friend of ours from down the street, she had a full time nanny person who ended up quitting because she's moving back to wherever she is from. I don't know, some other state somewhere, but she was gonna stay here. Then she decided that she's moving back to that state, so she can't clearly nanny share. Well, it turns out that she started the person who was watching our kid during the day would go over and help out some days when she wasn't over here as well. We knew about, like, not a big, that's not like, it's not like, oh, how dare she, like we knew about that.
Right.
No big deal. She is making her money when she's not here and stuff too, to the point where it was strange because all of a sudden she started the friend from down the street was like, oh, I wonder if she can watch both of them. It's really hard to watch, 2 babies during the day. But she asked and she said, she was okay with it. And, you could tell it was, pretty rough. But so a couple times she's watched both the kids during the day. And whenever I get home from work and both the babies were here, because her kid is like, our kid's 10 months old now and her kid is like 12 months old. So, we're still talking to, youngins. And when I would get home from work when she was there during the day with both the kids, she was exhausted. You could just see it on her face. Like it was a long, long day. Well, last week, I guess my wife was talking to her, the other person with the kid, and she was like, "Oh, you think the sitter can watch both the kids tomorrow because I have to go to work and like we don't have a sitter plan, like, right, or something fell through or something changed or whatever and we don't have a sitter." She's like, "Well, I don't know, ask her, text her and ask her and see if she's willing to do it tomorrow because she'll be at our house and you can feel free to bring your kid over, but it's up to her." I guess in the morning she just showed up.
She didn't ask.
Didn't ask her. Just showed up.
Oh no.
So
Drama.
it was like, okay. And she was graciously, apparently, was because I got home from work and she said something to me about the babysitter, and she was like, I didn't know I was watching too today. You could tell she was really exhausted that day too, because they both were like very like, you know, and Jamie's to a point where he's super active, so he's really tough to keep up with, and he also likes attention, so he doesn't like there being like less attention, you know, on him.
Yeah.
But. And I asked my wife about it afterwards, and I was like, that was weird. I thought, you know, you had told me yesterday that she was watching both of them today. And she's like, yeah, I told her to call her yesterday to make sure it was okay. And apparently she just didn't, and just like came over in the morning with the kid.
Wow.
So it's like, that's kind of weird, but okay. I guess if she was okay with it, like that, sure, whatever. So that was just the end of last week.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, the babysitter actually called on Sunday night, and she goes, I completely forgot I am supposed to have jury duty tomorrow. She's like, I usually can get an excuse to get it deferred. I don't know. There's a lot of people that are really big into like the getting the jury duty deferred forever type of deal out here. I don't know how you do it or whatever. But so she wasn't sure she was going to be able to come over and watch the kid, and she was concerned because she was actually supposed to be watching both of them as well. So I was like...
So this time she knew she was watching
both of them? Yes, this time she knew she was watching both of them. So that's a good thing. But the rest of the story, it'll play in, and you'll understand why it plays in soon.
Okay.
So I ended up saying, okay, you know, I'm going to work from home because we actually have a friend that's coming and staying with us in town, and he's staying at the house during the day too. Not to babysit, he's got other work that he's doing. Like, we don't expect him to just come to town and, oh, you're babysitting our kid. But I'm like, oh, so, you know, we can hang out. I can hang out with him. I can work from home. It'll be a pretty light day tomorrow anyway. And in case she has to do jury duty, I can kind of watch, you know, at least our child. And I don't know if I'm going to get stuck watching two, but planned it to work from home. No, like, luckily she calls in the morning, comes over, says like, I got it deferred or whatever, so I'm coming over, and I'm still taking advantage of the working from home, because you know what, I'm taking advantage of the working from home. So in the afternoon, I'm sitting up in the room, and I can hear both the babies getting a little wild, getting a little crazy, getting a little cranky. They don't let each other sleep when she watches them both. Like, when one falls asleep, the other one starts crying really loud, and they both wake up. So it just becomes kind of a nightmare with, with two kids.
Right.
And I hear them crying and getting cranky, and I'm just like, okay, I'm on this, like, phone call. Maybe I should go down there and, like, see if I can help out a little bit. And then I hear this, like, thunk, the typical sound of a kid fell down and, like, bonked something. And then I hear both the kids crying, so I'm like, okay, let me go down and make sure, everything's all right. And, like, which kid, like, fell? Which kid got hurt? Like, how bad is it, And I'm used to my kids, like, bonking, like, whatever. As long as they're not dead, or, actually super injured, that's fine. I go down and I look, and my son's crying. Well, he's more, like, sympathetically crying. It's the other one that had bonked his head on something, and he was crying, but not, like, off the wall. Wait, crazy.
Your kid's crying, but he didn't get hurt?
Yeah, he was just crying. They were tired. It was like in the afternoon. They hadn't taken naps yet because they kept each other up. My kid's like crying because the other kid's crying, and I picked up mine, and he calms down like right away. And she's like, "Oh, do you mind? Like, he fell, he bunked his head. I was trying to get him to go to sleep too. Like, he's super tired. Can you anyway, you can stay down and like." Take Jamie for like 20 minutes. I'm like, sure, no problem. So I take him upstairs, and I'm just like playing with him and having a good old time. And within like a minute, the other kid is like not crying anymore. Like, everything is all back to normal life. I come downstairs like 20 minutes later. She had gotten him to go to sleep. So he's like, he had a bottle, and he's now sleeping on the couch. So she takes our kid back. She actually gets him to go to sleep too. They both sleep for like an hour and a half. Like, it's amazing. Like, she gets some relief. They both actually fall asleep. Well, I go to the fire station last night. I get frantic texts from the other mother. What happened? Like, there's this big knot on his head. I want to understand from you. Like, I understand. I heard that there was like, he hit his head. And we checked him out, and he seems fine and everything. I just want to get the story from you on what happened, because the sitter said that you heard it too. I mean, this is me saying it, but it was just a text message, so it might not have been like frantic.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh well, I was upstairs and I heard the bonk. I heard the typical bonk sound. I heard kids crying. I go downstairs. Jamie was crawling around the ground. Your child was, was crying, and she said he had bonked his head. And I said once I picked up Jamie and he was back to like, and your kid had all the attention. It was like within a minute he was done crying, relaxing, just like chilling, drinking a bottle, and he fell asleep, took a nap. And she was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." I'm like, okay. And like an hour later, she's like, "So tell me again, what happened? Like exactly what happened?" And it's like, this, it's in text message. It's not like we had a phone call. It's in a text message. So I told her, like, okay, like I said, I heard this, blah, blah, blah. It was like this. Okay, thanks so much. And like 2 hours later, we're at like 11 o'clock at night now. She writes me again to basically ask me, again, tell me what happened.
What the hell?
And so I called Julia, and I didn't actually get a hold of her till this morning because it was late. But I said, what is going on? Like, she seemed really frantic about this. It was, she's like, yeah, she fired the babysitter this morning.
Why?
I said, you realize, like I said, she realizes that her son is a kid, right? Like, kids bonk, and my wife's even like, it's kind of weird. I don't quite understand what's going on. But literally, and this is where I'm very confused. It's the same person who will show up without asking and expect you to watch the kid is now when your kid has done what all kids do and kind of taken a little spill.
Yeah.
You now fire that person as your babysitter forever?
I mean, I guess the good news is you don't have to worry about her showing up at your house anymore.
Well, but she's a friend of ours. She's gonna show up at our house.
Well,
anyway.
yeah, no,
like,
I mean, but
like,
we're just with their kid.
Yeah, I guess not with their kid, but we're not here during the day anyway. It's with their kid,
Yeah.
But it's so weird to me to be like, to think that you can have the thought process that it's okay to just show up and that she's gonna watch your child as well, which has got to be fucking hard to watch two kids that are that age together, like all day long without their mothers.
Well, that's kind of the frustrating point is like you're not getting the childcare that you had paid for because she's suddenly just kind of leeching off of what you guys were already doing.
Yeah,
so
I actually don't. I don't know what the price difference is. I know when we started the nanny share across the street, it worked out really good for both of us.
Oh yeah, you're saving money, but
we're saving because I don't know what it is with the sitter, but with the nanny share across the street, we used to pay $15 an hour. Which is also what the people across the street paid their person, and it became a total of, she wanted for both kids, it's $20 an hour total.
Oh.
So both families pay $5 an hour less. And I personally feel it's like great to have, Jack with, another kid all day long because it's some social interaction stuff too. But I don't know. I thought it was, and that's why I was wondering if you had ever had babysitters, because I don't know. Maybe it's just the type of people that we are. I don't freak out when, Jack's hurt himself before over at the nanny share. It happens. He's a boy. Like, he's hurt himself plenty of times with us too. I mean, it's not like we're.
I mean, I feel like Crystal probably would freak out, to be honest.
Really?
So, I probably. I mean, anytime our daughter ever got hurt, she kind of made a big deal about it. So, if someone else was in charge, she probably would have totally questioned how good they were at their job and whether or not they should maintain having that job and those sort of things. I could see that.
I mean, should I not be a parent anymore then?
Why?
Because, I mean, our kids have bonked themselves when I was watching them too.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think it's just it's a personality thing. Like, I don't freak out whenever my daughter hurt herself whenever she was young. I mean, in fact, there were times where I kind of let her hurt herself because I'd be like, that's going to hurt if you do that.
you will learn.
You're not going to like it. And then she'd still do it. And I'd be like, well, told you so. So there was one time when she was pretty young, and she kept climbing towards the edge of the bed, and I was like, you don't want to do that. If you fall off, it's gonna hurt. And like, I meant to not let her. Yeah, I did not intend for her to fall off the bed. But then she did it real fast and like went to fall off the bed, and so I like freaked out and tried to grab her, which I really should have. I should have just let her fall in hindsight, because by me grabbing her ankle, like she went over the edge of the bed and then like racked her head right against the bar for like the where the box springs is attached.
Right.
Because I was grabbing her leg or whatever. But if I had like not intervened, she would have just fallen off and like hit the carpet and probably not hurt as bad as it did. So I felt pretty bad about that one.
Yeah,
I was kind of like letting her learn, but I didn't actually mean for her to fall.
Right. Yeah, you talked about that one before, which I find funny, not because it's like, she hurt herself, but because I guarantee I have done or will do the same thing on accident too.
Yeah. So I mean, I think kids have to hurt themselves to learn. It's part of. I mean, it's kind of like the thing about touching a hot burner. You won't do it twice. So I mean, ideally, if you don't let your kid touch a hot burner, period, that's probably better. But if they do, then they're gonna know never to touch it again.
Right. It's even more.
Like your son will never blow pepper again, right?
Oh yeah, God, yeah, he definitely will never blow pepper again. He always talks about it. Whenever we have pepper, he talks about it. Pepper, not in the eye. Nope, you're right, buddy. No pepper in the eye.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And somebody's gonna just watch that conversation one day and be like, "Why is he talking about not putting pepper in his eye?"
Right?
Oh, no big deal. No big deal. Just life learnings,
So yeah, I mean, I wonder what transpired between her and the babysitter. I feel like there's a part of the story that you don't have.
I mean, it's possible, and I also never saw the knot that she was complaining about either. So maybe the knot was 10 times bigger than I realized, because like when I saw him, he was like laying down and taking a nap. And I'll tell you, I heard the sounds. It was the stereotypical sounds of a bonk. Like, there's no question about it. Like, he definitely...
I mean, that could have happened with anyone.
Oh, absolutely. I came downstairs to find out which kid it was that bonked and which one am I going to have to, like, console. Not because I was like, oh, I hope it's their kid, but because, like, our kid's kind of a brute, too. But her kid is, too, actually. He's a big... For a baby, he's way on the top of the growth curve. Like, one of those kids that if he falls off the bed, he's not going to, like, be damaged irreprehensibly because he's not a small, fragile child.
Right.
I don't know. I just thought it was so weird and
overly dramatic.
Overly dramatic, and then but just mixing it. I don't know. Maybe it makes me a little bit more frustrated. It's just the mixing it with what happened the week before.
Is she a single mom?
No, but I guess her and her husband been having many, like I talk about having differences about parenting techniques than Julia. They apparently have very significant differences in parenting techniques. Yeah, Jack, what are you doing, buddy?
I don't want to sleep.
I know you don't want to go to sleep, bud. I can tell that. Jack, say hi to Guude.
Hello.
I don't know if you can hear him. He said it very
I heard him.
All right, buddy. Go back with Grammy and go to bed, okay, bud? Can I have a hug? Give me a hug. Love you, bud. Go with Grammy, okay? Daddy's recording something. Sorry, bud.
I
Hi.
don't like you.
Huh? All right. Go on, bud. He's struggling here.
That's funny.
Okay, bud. You gotta go. I'm sorry, buddy. Grammy's right here.
I'm not sleepy yet.
Okay, you're not sleepy yet. We're just gonna continue on with him right here next to me.
It's fantastic.
So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, now she's got to find another babysitter, so that's going to be.
Well, that is actually going to be really tough because, yeah, I don't know what she's going to do at the last minute too with that to find somebody, because that's kind of part of the reason that she's started this in the first place. Like I said, is her other person that she had thought was lined up quit, so she was kind of like wow, it kind of fell into the lap of being able to have somebody, and now you're back to nobody to be able to cover that. It's kind of rough. We've been in that situation before where, our original nanny with Jack quit, and that was like...
I remember that.
Yeah, how are we going to find out? God, that lady was
crazy.
Turned out to be crazy.
Have you heard anything else from her ever again?
Nope.
That's so wild.
Nope. It was just a very off-the-wall scenario that... Don't know What happened?
So I was placing this wall, and I guess you placed the wood up through, and the sound that makes was a sound I never heard in Minecraft before. And I like went looking in the caves trying to figure out what the hell it was.
Oh, was it,
Just
was it the sound of the stripping of the bark?
yeah, like you placing and stripping all the way up. Like it went past me, and I thought it was some mob in the cave. And I like wandered down in there trying to figure out what the hell. And just now I saw you do it, and I realized that's what I had heard. But yeah, that messed me up. I did not know what I was hearing.
That is funny. I don't remember how to make these. What do I have left? We have one. Oh, we didn't dig out all these holes. Or I said we didn't. Why didn't you dig out all these holes, dude? That one's partially done. Yeah, these ones I never finished digging down. That's annoying. I thought that part was done.
I don't think. Is this one right? Or did we just not dig the wall out correctly?
Which were you talking at?
I guess it is right. We just haven't.
Yeah, like I said, all these. I'm looking at these. I'm doing these. Oh, buddy, Jack, you're moving this thing. Why are you doing that, bud? Please stop. He's like working behind me when I'm not looking, and he's doing some work.
This is how your office got rearranged before you were in there.
Actually, that's probably yeah. For those who didn't listen to my story because we weren't recording yet, but I was telling Guude, I'm like, man, my microphone. It's like I try to turn it, and the boom is running into the wall, and it's been like set up like this forever. But all of a sudden, somehow it's moved a little bit to where it's making a bunch of noise. If I turn it at all, because it smashes the wall. Guude said, "I'm sure it's something to do with your kid." I'm like, you're probably right.
That's what I normally assume. It's funny whenever she blames the cats, though. I don't think it was the cats. It used to be real bad whenever she was a little kid, like whenever she was like 2 or something, like drawing on the wall. Conifer did it. I don't think he did.
I don't think the cat drew on the wall. It is, it's kind of funny to understand as a child. You're smart enough to know that you're going to get in trouble, but you're not smart enough to come up with a actual lie that makes any sense at all. Like,
right.
You know as a child that cats don't draw, right?
right. Yeah, I guess, for you, like for kids with brothers and sisters, it's probably way different. Like you're going to have to constantly deal with that, I'm sure, of who did this, and they're both going to look at each other and blame the other one.
I definitely blame my sister back in the day for things that I did, for sure. I don't know if I ever blamed the dog on something the dog physically wasn't capable of doing.
Right. I'll still never forget the one time the one time we really punished her was whenever she'd locked herself out of the house in the morning. And she didn't even lock herself out. She just went outside and didn't know how to open the door. And she was out there, and luckily she wasn't out there long because she would have died because it was freezing cold. But she was out there crying, yelling at Conifer to let her in. And like,
did she actually think that Conifer would let her in?
Yeah, she did. I remember whenever she got in, she was very upset with him because he didn't let her in.
How did you get in here?
Yeah, how did you get in here, other child as well?
You just got you got to run into daycare. It's fantastic.
Well, how much time we at here?
We'll stop here. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Jay's Tato's babysitting service.
We'll see you in the next video.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.